All right, so get ready because today we're diving into something a bit different. We're looking at the world of moving and housing today,
Okay.
but with a twist.
Sounds fun.
Our source material is, get this, an English language learning podcast dialogue.
Interesting.
And I know, you might be thinking, well, I already speak English.
Yeah.
But trust me, this is way less about the grammar rules and more about like all the cool vocabulary and situations that, just pop up
Right.
when you talk about renting and leases and all that fun stuff that comes with moving. So,
I mean, it is a pretty brilliant way to approach this topic, though, because
yeah.
we get to like see these terms in action,
Ex-
not just as dictionary definitions,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, it got me thinking like whether you are a seasoned renter, a homeowner, or maybe still figuring things out, like we've all encountered some version of a lease or a contract, right?
Of course.
In our lives. And this dialogue that we're looking at, it kicks off with someone having to move because their lease is up. Oh, okay.
So what's interesting to me is that, while a lease, I mean, it's legally binding, it also represents a choice, right?
Right.
To stay put or to like embrace the change and find a new place.
That's a great point. And it really ties into, I think, like the bigger picture of
Mhm.
how we view housing in general.
Totally.
Is it a temporary stop? Is it a long-term commitment? Is it something in between?
Totally.
So,
And this dialogue doesn't shy away from like the less glamorous side of moving either.
oh, yeah.
Like all the packing and the urgency of finding a new place. ASE,
Oh, I hate that.
right?
Yes.
They even mentioned, the possibility of moving back in with parents for a bit.
Oh, wow.
I'm curious,
Yeah.
have you ever had that back to the nest experience?
I haven't. No.
Yeah.
I know it's pretty common.
Yeah, for some cultures, it's more common than others.
Right. Yeah. Definitely varies a lot by culture.
Right.
In some places, multi-generational living is totally the norm.
While in others, there's a really strong emphasis on independence and moving out as soon as possible.
Right.
This dialogue actually mentions that cultural difference, comparing the U.S. to places like Shanghai,
Oh, interesting.
where living with family until marriage is more typical.
That's so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
that's what makes this so fascinating. Like,
Yeah.
we're not just learning vocabulary, we're getting a glimpse into, like, different ways of life, right?
Absolutely.
And speaking of different, remember that part about the landlord selling the property to make way for a parking lot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because that phrase, make way for, like that is,
It's loaded.
it's loaded. It's loaded with implications.
Yeah.
It's not just about demolition. It speaks to, I think, this constant evolution
Right.
of our urban landscapes,
Yeah.
So think about it. What has been made way for in your own city or town?
Yeah.
Has a historic building been replaced by a high rise?
Right.
Or maybe a green space paved over for a shopping center or, something like that.
It makes you wonder about all the choices we make, both individually and as communities when it
Right.
comes to housing and development,
Yeah.
Because the dialogue highlights, I think, also the human side of all these changes.
Right.
The stress of finding a new place, the scramble to pack, and just all the inevitable compromises we make.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to compromise somewhere.
Right.
And let's not forget the emotional aspect of all this too.
Oh, totally.
Moving can be exciting, but it can also be,
Oh, bittersweet for sure.
bittersweet, especially if you're leaving behind a place that's filled with memories.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like when they mention putting things in storage, it's almost like
Uh-huh.
putting a part of your life on pause.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
But you know what really caught my attention?
What's that?
That request. Would you mind looking after? Because on the surface, it seems like just a simple favor. Right, but then they drop the bomb.
What?
They're talking about a pet tarantula and a snake.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
That's hilarious.
That's where the dialogue, I think, takes a hilarious turn.
yeah.
And it also subtly points to this idea of trust and responsibility
Right.
in shared living situations.
Of course.
After all, would you entrust just anyone with your pet tarantula?
No, absolutely not.
Right. It speaks volumes about the relationship between the people in the dialogue.
Right. Yeah.
But it also got me thinking about, like, this broader concept of looking after things.
Yeah.
Whether it's a pet, a plant, even a borrowed book,
Right.
It's about taking care, being responsible, and just showing respect.
It's a simple phrase,
Yeah.
but it really does speak to this fundamental human need
Totally.
for connection and community.
Totally.
Yeah.
And speaking of connection, The dialogue made me think about all those pivotal moments in life
Yeah.
when our living arrangements change, like moving out on your own, maybe moving back in with family at some point,
Mm.
or that big step of having a significant other move in.
Those are huge milestones.
Right.
And each one brings its own set of challenges and rewards.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the dialogue playfully refers to moving in together as like a step before marriage.
Uh-huh.
And while that might not be everyone's path,
Right.
it does highlight the significance of those decisions, right?
It does. It's all part of this bigger conversation about housing
Yeah.
as a reflection of our lives, our relationships, and our evolving needs.
And speaking of evolving needs, the dialogue touches on that universal struggle of finding a decent place to live.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right, but what does decent even mean?
I know.
Is it about affordability,
Yeah.
location,
Mhm.
safety,
Is it the size?
or something else entirely?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's a subjective term, for sure.
It is.
And it's fascinating to consider how our definition of decent changes over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on our priorities, our
Yeah.
experiences.
And even our cultural background.
Yeah, it changes so much.
I know for me, decent used to mean a place with a working fridge and no leaks.
That's it, yeah.
Now it's more about like natural light, a sense of community, and maybe a dog park nearby.
Those are good.
What about you?
Well, I've always been a sucker for a good view, but
Right.
I think you're right. It definitely evolves as we do.
It does.
Yeah.
This is what I love about these deep dives. Like,
Yeah.
we start with this seemingly simple topic like vocabulary.
Right.
And suddenly we're exploring the complexities of urban development, cultural differences, and even our own personal values.
It's amazing how interconnected these concepts are.
It is. It is. And you know what else struck me about this dialogue?
What's that?
The constant reminders of how dynamic and ever-changing the world of housing can be.
It's true.
I mean, leases expire, buildings get sold, neighborhoods transform. It's
It's like life itself.
a lot like life itself,
It
right?
really is. Yeah. And just like in life, there are always choices to be made,
Always choice.
challenges to navigate, and opportunities to create a space that feels like home, even if it's temporary.
Absolutely. Well said.
So true. So true.
Yeah. As we kind of keep looking at this dialogue more and more, I'm really struck by how it captures like
Yeah.
both the universal and the deeply personal aspects of moving.
I totally agree. It's like they managed to bottle up that mix of, excitement and stress and bittersweet reflection that comes with
Right.
uprooting your life and then starting new.
Yeah, it's like they've given us a window
Yeah,
into the minds of people who are grappling
totally.
with all these decisions, weighing the pros and cons
right.
and ultimately, taking that leap of faith.
Yeah, and for all the talk about leases and logistics, what really stuck with me was that
Yeah.
underlying sense of vulnerability
No, yeah.
that comes with moving. It's like you're stripping away all your familiar surroundings and just kind of putting yourself out there
Right.
in a new environment.
It's a brave act in a way,
It is. It is.
to step outside your comfort zone and embrace the unknown.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's something that like most of us can relate to on some level.
I think so.
Whether we've moved across the country or just switch apartments,
Yeah.
It's that human experience of trying to find a place to belong,
It is.
to feel safe and secure,
Yeah.
and to create a space that reflects who we are.
Well said. Yeah.
And it makes me think about how our definition of home evolves over time.
Of course.
What might have felt like home in our 20s might look completely different
Totally
in
different.
our 40s or 50s.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
such a fascinating concept, like
Yeah.
how our needs and priorities shift and
Yeah.
and how our sense of home adapts along with them.
I know. I remember when home meant having a futon that doubled as a couch
Oh, yeah.
and a kitchen sink that only ran cold water.
Oh, no.
I know.
That's rough.
Now it's more about having a space where I can relax, entertain friends,
Right.
maybe even have a dedicated workspace.
Those are great. Yeah.
It's almost as if our homes become an extension of ourselves,
I love that.
reflecting, our evolving tastes, our relationships, even our aspirations.
I love that idea. It's like our homes become a physical manifestation
Yes.
of our inner world.
Yes. And that makes me wonder, like, is that why moving can be such an emotionally charged experience?
Yeah.
It's not just about packing boxes, right?
Yes.
It's about transitioning between different chapters of our lives.
Yeah, yeah. It's like closing one door and opening another
Yes.
with all the anticipation and
Oh, yeah.
uncertainty
The uncertainty.
that comes with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the dialogue kind of subtly touches on
Yeah.
that theme of transition. Remember that part?
Oh, yeah.
Where they talk about putting things in storage.
Putting things in storage. Yeah.
It's almost like they're putting a part of their lives on hold
Right.
while they try to figure out what's next.
Yeah, it's a physical representation of that in-between space.
Yes.
That liminal zone
Yes.
where we're not quite sure.
You don't know what's next.
Yeah, what the future holds, but we're open to possibilities.
We're open to the possibilities.
Yeah.
And sometimes those in-between spaces
I think so.
can be the most transformative, It
Yeah.
forces us to reevaluate our priorities and figure out what truly matters.
It's like a pause button,
Yes.
allowing us to reflect and reset
Totally.
before embarking on that next chapter.
It's funny how such a simple phrase, like
Right.
putting things in storage,
Yeah.
can spark such profound insights.
That's the beauty of language.
It is.
How it connects us to deeper meanings and shared experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of shared experiences, I'm curious, have you ever had that back to the nest experience?
I have, actually.
You have.
Yeah, after I finished grad school.
Oh, wow.
I moved back in with my parents for a few months
Okay.
while I was looking for a job.
Yeah.
It was definitely an adjustment.
I bet.
But, it also gave me, I think, a newfound appreciation
Yeah.
for my family and the comforts of home.
I can imagine. And it's interesting how the dialogue presents that scenario
Yeah.
with a mix of humor and empathy.
Mhm.
It's clear they understand the complexities of those situations, the blend of practicality and emotional baggage.
Yeah, and it's like they're acknowledging that
Yeah,
sometimes life throws these curveballs,
it does.
and we just have to find ways to adapt.
Yeah.
And rely on our support systems.
Totally. And, it's a reminder that even in those moments of what might feel like failure or regression,
Right.
there's often an opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
Absolutely. It's all part of the messy.
So unpredictable journey of life. So true. But for all the talk about the emotional and logistical challenges of moving, the dialogue also manages to inject a bit of humor into the situation. Remember that part about the pet tarantulan snake?
Oh, yes, that was a delightful surprise.
I know.
It's a reminder that
Yeah.
even amidst the chaos of moving, there's always room for a little levity.
A little levity, and it highlights the importance of trust
Right.
and shared responsibility in those shared living situations.
It does.
After all, would you entrust just anyone
Wait.
with your beloved tarantula?
Absolutely not.
Right. It's a testament to the bond
It is.
between the characters and the dialogue, and a subtle reminder that even the most mundane tasks,
Yeah.
like looking after someone's pet, can become
Yeah.
acts of kindness and connection.
That's a heartwarming thought.
It is.
That even in the midst of upheaval, we can find ways to support each other and create a sense of community.
It's a beautiful reminder that even when we're feeling uprooted and uncertain, those small acts of kindness can ground us
Yeah.
and remind us that we're not alone.
It's true.
And speaking of feeling uprooted,
Yeah.
the dialogue also touches on a really interesting cultural difference
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to moving out of the family home.
Yeah, I was fascinated by that part too.
Because too.
Comparing that typical American experience of moving out, for college or early adulthood to
Right.
the norm
Yeah.
in places like Shanghai,
Right.
where living with family until marriage is much more common.
Yeah, it's such a stark contrast.
It is.
And it makes you realize how much our cultural background shapes our expectations and assumptions
Yeah.
about housing and independence and family dynamics.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to these
No.
things, and what might seem normal in one culture
Totally.
can be completely different
Yeah. Different.
in another.
Yeah. And it's a valuable lesson in empathy and open-mindedness.
It is,
Especially in our increasingly interconnected world.
for sure.
Absolutely. And it also makes me think about how those cultural differences
Mhm.
might play out in the context of moving and finding a new place to live.
It would be so interesting to see.
Right. Imagine the different priorities and expectations people might bring to that process
Yeah.
based on their cultural background.
Be fascinating.
I
It
know.
would lead to some interesting conversations.
Oh, I'm sure.
And negotiations, to say the least.
But what really struck me about that part of the dialogue was like the sense of
Yeah.
respect and understanding that they conveyed,
Yeah.
even when discussing those contrasting viewpoints.
Right. It's a model, I think,
Yeah,
for how we can engage in these cross-cultural conversations,
totally.
with curiosity, empathy, and a willingness to learn
And a willingness to learn.
from each other.
It's so well said.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that even in the realm of housing,
Right.
which can feel, so personal and practical,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity to connect with others on a deeper level
Absolutely.
and expand our understanding of the world.
It's a beautiful thought
It is.
that even something as seemingly mundane
Yeah.
as finding a place to live
Yeah.
can become this bridge between cultures
Yes.
and a source of shared humanity.
And, speaking of shared humanity,
Yeah.
one of the things that really resonated with me in this dialogue
What's that?
was that sense of universal anxiety
Oh, yeah.
that comes with finding a decent place to live.
It's a relatable struggle.
I know.
No matter where you are in the world,
Right.
everyone wants a space that feels safe and comfortable
And affordable.
and affordable.
Right.
It's a basic human need.
It is.
But as we've seen in this dialogue,
Yeah.
it can be surprisingly difficult to fulfill,
Yeah. Oh, especially in today's housing market.
especially in today's market.
I know. It's a complex issue
It is.
with so many factors at play.
So many facts.
Economic forces,
Ugh.
social inequalities, environmental concerns,
Yeah.
and even cultural norms.
It's enough to make your head spin.
I know, but I think the dialogue does a really good job
Yeah.
of cutting through the noise
Yeah.
and highlighting those individual stories, those human experiences
Totally.
that are at the heart of this issue.
It's a reminder that behind all the statistics
Right.
and policy debates, there are real people
Real people.
trying to find a place to call home,
Yeah.
a place to put down roots
Yeah.
and build a life.
And it's those personal stories that make this topic so compelling.
Absolutely. It's what gives it emotional weight
It does. It does.
and reminds us why it matters.
And speaking of emotional weight,
Yeah.
one of the things that really struck me about this dialogue was
Yeah.
the way it captured that bittersweet feeling of saying goodbye
Oh, yeah.
to a familiar place.
It's a feeling most of us can relate to.
I know.
That mix of nostalgia and sadness.
Yeah.
And perhaps a touch of excitement
Mhm.
for what's to come.
Yeah, it's like closing a chapter in your life,
It is.
knowing that you'll carry those memories with you, but
Real-
also embracing the possibility of new adventures.
And it's interesting how the dialogue manages to convey
Yeah.
that complex emotional landscape
It is.
with just a few simple words.
Right.
It's a testament to the power of storytelling
It is.
and the way it can evoke those universal
Yeah.
human experiences.
It's like they've managed to capture that feeling of standing on the threshold,
Yeah.
looking back at what was and forward to what might be.
And sometimes those moments of transition,
Yes.
those times of uncertainty and upheaval
Right.
can be the most transformative.
I think they are. It's like they force us to reevaluate our priorities, to shed what no longer serves us,
Yeah.
and to embrace the possibility of growth and change.
It's a powerful reminder that even when we're feeling lost and uprooted,
Yeah.
there's always an opportunity for renewal,
Yeah.
reinvention.
And it makes me think about the way we talk about moving.
Yeah.
Often with a focus on the practicalities, the logistics, the to-do lists.
It's easy to get caught up in those
Oh,
details.
they know?
But the dialogue reminds us
Yeah.
that moving is so much more
Yeah.
than just a physical act.
Yes.
It's an emotional journey,
Yes, it is.
a process of letting go
Yeah.
and embracing the unknown.
And embracing the unknown, it's a reminder to be kind to ourselves
I think so.
during those transitions.
Yeah.
To acknowledge the complexities of our emotions.
Yeah.
And to celebrate the resilience of the human spirit.
And it also makes me think about the role of community
Oh, yeah.
during those times of upheaval. How important it is
Yeah.
to have a support system, whether it's family, friends, or even just a kind neighbor
We're our neighbor.
who's willing to lend a hand.
It's a beautiful reminder that we don't have to go through these transitions alone.
We don't.
We don't.
And that even in the midst of chaos
Mhm.
and uncertainty, there's always the potential
Yeah.
for connection, compassion, and shared humanity.
So well said. But for now, we're going to take a little break.
Okay.
Let these thoughts kind of sink in for a bit.
Right.
We'll be back soon to wrap up this deep dive
That was good.
with some final reflections and a challenge to carry these insights forward, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling all sorts of inspired after unpacking this English language learning dialogue about moving and housing.
I know, me too. It's amazing how, like, a simple conversation
Yay.
can spark so many profound insights.
I know about our lives and our relationships and even our place in the world.
Yeah, it's like they've given us this whole new lens
Yeah,
to view these everyday experiences, like
totally.
revealing those hidden complexities
Yeah,
and the universal emotions that connect us all.
absolutely. And one of the things that really struck me about this dialogue was
Yeah.
was how they managed to weave together those personal anecdotes
Yeah.
with those broader societal themes.
Right. It's like they've created this intricate tapestry where
Yeah.
individual stories are interwoven with reflections on cultural norms,
Right.
economic forces,
Right.
and the ever-evolving landscape of our cities and towns.
It's a reminder that our personal experiences are never isolated incidents.
Yeah.
They're always connected to these larger systems and forces that shape our lives.
It's true, and it's a call to be more aware, I think,
Yeah.
of those connections,
Yeah.
to think critically about the choices that we make, and to recognize the impact our actions have on others.
It's a powerful message that even something as personal as moving can be a catalyst for social change
Yeah.
and a reflection of those broader societal trends.
I agree.
But for all the talk about the complexities and the challenges of moving, the dialogue also manages to inject a little bit of humor.
Right.
Remember that part about the pet tarantula and the snake?
Oh yeah, that was a delightful surprise.
It was a delightful surprise.
It's like a reminder that even amidst all the stress
Yeah.
and chaos of moving, there's always room for a little levity.
A little levity, it's like they're saying, hey, life is messy and unpredictable,
It is.
but we can choose to find joy and humor
We
in
can
those unexpected moments.
absolutely. It's a valuable lesson, I think,
It is.
to embrace the absurdity of it all.
Yeah.
And find those moments of lightness
Yeah.
that lift our spirits and help us cope with the challenges.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I don't know, I'm left with a sense of wonder and curiosity.
Me too.
It's amazing how this simple dialogue about moving and housing
Right.
can spark such profound reflections on our lives and our values and our place in the world.
It's a testament to the power of language and storytelling
Absolutely.
to connect us to deeper meanings and shared experiences.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with a little challenge.
Oh, I love a good challenge.
Me too. So here it is. If you had to choose one word
Okay.
from our discussion today
Okay.
to use in a conversation this week,
Okay.
which word would it be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many good options.
I know, right?
Lease, ASAP, decent, make way for, even looking after.
It's a fun way to test out our newfound vocabulary
Right.
and maybe even spark some interesting conversations
Absolutely.
with friends, family, colleagues.
Yeah, and who knows?
Who knows?
It might even lead to some deeper reflections on the topics we've explored today.
The possibilities are endless. So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the world of moving and housing.
Yeah.
Inspired by an English language learning dialogue, it just goes to show you can find inspiration and insight
You can.
in the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. It's all about being curious, asking questions,
Yeah.
and connecting the dots between the personal and the universal.
And remember, this isn't a one-way street. We would love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, maybe even your word of the week.
Yes.
Feel free to share them with us on social media or drop us a line on our website.
Yeah, let us know.
Until next time, happy diving.